But there's definitely different realizations that you will have and deeper levels that you can get to in a meditation practice. There's some that involve very deep states of meditation. They're very yin oriented. And then there's some that are more aggressive and kind of more energizing, and so uh, as you start to understand how to use these different strategies, we can kind of write your own prescription, if you will. And with any meditation practice, we have what we call the 5 regulations. And these regulations are kind of the core fundamental principles of any meditation practice, whether it's a sitting practice, a movement practice like Tai Chi or Qigong or yoga or whatever it is. And they are regulating the body, regulating the breath, regulating the mind, regulating the energy, and regulating the spirit. And briefly, I'll kind of touch on what those are so you understand what I'm talking about. So regulating the body is the idea that we're aware of our skeletal alignment and our muscular tension in the body. An example would be, think about a time maybe when you're sitting down at your computer for 3 or 4 hours and your shoulders are rounded forward and you're starting to feel a little lethargic and maybe your neck's getting sore and you're feeling pretty depleted. And then another time when the most important person in your world walks in the room and your body perks up and you feel like you're on top of the world. Well, these 2 different energetic states we're in 100% control of all day, every day. And the choice is, ours as to how we want to be presenting ourselves to the world. And so understanding this first idea of body regulation, this is kind of like the basic idea of that. A little bit deeper in the body regulation would be maintaining some sense of a muscular structure in the body, flexibility, making sure you're eating a healthy diet to keep our energy levels up, making sure you're getting enough sleep. All of these things would be part of that body regulation. Then we have regulating the breath. And regulating the breath is an extremely deep topic and something that if you take on a meditation practice, you'll be doing it for the rest of your life because it's so detailed. And in Qigong, they often refer to defining Qigong as the science of the breath because there's literally hundreds of different breathing strategies. And because of that, we broadly categorize them into yin methods and yang methods. Yin methods are often deeper, more holistic style of meditations. They help with dealing with anxiety or depression or panic attacks or boosting your creativity. There's lots of different ways that we can use this. And then we have the yang side of the breath, which is more aggressive, where it helps energize us and make us more powerful. And an example of a yin breath would be if you ever listen to somebody sleep, you'll see that they naturally inhale longer and exhale shorter. And this is the body's natural way of bringing your conscious mind into your subconscious mind, which is where we are when we're sleeping and dreaming. And then on the flip side of that, on the yang side of the breath, it's kind of like if you ever had to push your car, you pick up something heavy, your natural instinct is to use the exhale and put tension in the exhale and maybe even make it audible. And this will help generate power and expand that energy. And once we learn how to use this strategy of the breath, we can now regulate our physical, mental, and emotional outcomes throughout the day. And in Chinese philosophy, they call this balancing the kan and li, or the water and fire. And, everybody goes through the day with emotional ups and downs. Some people are like a roller coaster, others may be a little more balanced. But when you start noticing yourself get excited, we can use the yin side of the breath to help bring us back down. When we start feeling depleted, we use the yang side to help bring us up. And now we can maintain a more balanced state throughout the day. Then the next regulation is regulating the mind. And regulating the mind is an extremely deep topic. And again, something we'll work with for here on out. And an idea we already kind of touched on when you're meditating is just being aware of those imbalances and bringing yourself back to focus. There's this story that I really enjoy about these 2 old monks, and they're walking down this dirt road after a huge rainstorm, and they come up to this big mud puddle, and on the other side of the puddle is this beautiful little girl. She's standing there in a white dress and she's crying. And the older monk, he yells across the puddle and says, "Is everything okay? Can we help you?" And she says, "I need to be somewhere, but if I walk across this puddle, I'm going to get my dress all dirty." So he walks across the puddle, picks her up, puts her on his back, takes her to the other side, sets her down, and she's off on her way. Well, him and the younger monk are walking 2 miles down the road, and finally the younger monk is just furious, and he says, "You know we're not supposed to touch girls, but yet you did back there at the puddle." And he looks down at him and says, "You're still thinking about that girl? I left her back there at the puddle." And how many times in life do we have to get 2 miles down the muddy road before we realize, dude, we got to let this go? And so this idea of being aware of recognizing these imbalances and regulating our minds is very powerful. And then the next regulation is regulating the energy. And this is a very deep topic, something that we could literally talk for hours about. But a basic idea of it is, once you've reached a competent level in regulating the body, the breath, and the mind, you now have the tools to circulate the energy in the body, lead it inward, and extend it outward to get different outcomes. And then the last and final regulation, regulating the spirit, is a very profound idea, and it's something that meditation masters will spend their entire life's journey working towards that ultimate stage of enlightenment. But as you can see, by cultivating these underlying principles of the meditative arts, it can affect everything we do in life. And that's what makes meditation so powerful, is it improves our awareness and helps fine-tune pretty much anything you'll do in life.
Yeah, man, it's fantastic. I could go on for days talking about this. But is there a certain amount of time people should meditate, or is it just based on the person? What do you think?
Yeah, I always tell new people, you want to have the three pillars of meditation, which are ritual practices, active practices, and philosophical practices. A ritual practice, I think a good place to start for somebody is to meditate for 20 minutes a day. And that's when you're shutting your phone off, you're not looking at a screen, you're not having any other distractions around. And, it's not like you need to retire and go meditate in a cave for the rest of your life. But if you just did 20 minutes a day, you could see a lot of results from that if you're consistent with it. Then we have active practices that you can integrate throughout the day that help you, and they can be done in as little as 60 seconds or 2 minutes. And they help you kind of stay in that present mindset, because it seems kind of silly to think that I'll go meditate every day and feel at peace, and then the whole rest of the day you're stressed out and scattered. And doing these active practices help us stay in that focused place and really enhance that ability to stay aware throughout of our daily activities. And then lastly, we have the philosophical practices, and these can be used in an active-based practice as well as a ritual-based practice. And through these three ways of doing the practice, if you stay consistent with that, you can really see a lot of benefits from the meditative arts.
Great, man. So let's talk about your book, The Yielding Warrior. Well, first off, what made you want to write a book, man? Because it's a lot of work, man.
So this is my third book.